Oh, sorry, I think I was on mute when I was speaking there. So hi, everyone. Can you all hear me now? Let's have a look. Can you all hear me?
Yes, no problem.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I couldn't hear that. Yeah, so I'll start again. Welcome to the Spirit Lounge. I did this before, actually. I put my mic on mute and I was speaking, Jerry, for 40 minutes. Actually, no, for 15, 20 minutes on mute. And no one could hear a word. This is what happens when you start interactive channels with a mic and you press the wrong button on the mic, and then it goes on mute and you don't realize. So this is what happened. It was a disaster, really, but it was funny. I had to delete that one. But anyway, today we have Jerry Humphreys. You can see him on the screen there. He's a good friend. Privileged us with his time today. We're not going to spend the entire hour and keep him for an entire hour. It really depends how interesting the questions become, I guess. But Jerry's an international person of everything, really. He's an animal communicator. He's been on TV. I think I met you through Psychic and Soul, I think, Jerry. I think that's where I connected with you back, oh God, decade and a half at least, something like that. It's got to be. A long time. He's also a Reiki master. He's a counselor, a professional hypnotherapist. He's also has a digital online magazine on his website, which I'll show everyone how to connect with Jerry a bit later. He's done shows with other partners like Bonnie Albers, and he does also many other bows to his cap there. So we're going to ask him a few questions about Jerry himself, what he does. And if you have any questions, please pop them into the chat window and I'll ask Jerry, or you can come off mute if you are on Zoom. And thank you for those who are joining, and ask the questions directly to Jerry. Please don't ask any reading questions because Jerry's not here to do readings. So don't ask, is my boyfriend coming back? Am I going to win the lottery? Don't do that. It's disrespectful. Jerry's here to talk about himself and what he's done and what he's planning to do, what's his next adventures and challenges that wants to embark upon in the future. So it's much more about Jerry. So the link to the Zoom session is in Facebook and YouTube chat. If you don't see that, ping a message in that. I can see it streaming in front of me, so I will repost the link. You should be able to just click on that, join through the web or through the app, should you wish to do that. Okay, so hi, Jerry.
Hello, Raj.
Hey, long time, very, very long time. I've been looking forward to talking to you about this today. So wanted to talk about, first of all, just I've just gone through a lot of stuff there, and you have a lot of strings to your bow, and you've actually read for me many times, and I've been eternally grateful for that, and helped me out a few times in the past over at least a decade and a half. It's got to be at least it's got to be that, and through some quite trying times actually when I was going through those. So, could you just tell people how you kind of evolved into doing what you were doing, and particularly around, I find a lot of people are interested in, were you born with the veil that everyone develops over life, basically not developed for you? Were you open from birth, or did you develop this through a circle, or how did you get about doing what you do now and developing all of those capacities that you have?
You might describe me as a late developer. I had no real knowledge or idea of what I was going to be diving into about 3.5 decades ago until it actually happened. And it only really came about because I've been in and out of different jobs, doing one thing and another, and it was just, there's never really any one thing that I could say, yes, that really interested me on an earthly level. At the time, my wife, bless her, she said, look, I've always been interested, and we just got talking about it one day, how she'd always been interested in the spiritual side of things, and she has been and was at that time a medium. She was a tarot master, and Has that never interested you before? I said, I've never really given it much thought, to be honest.
Awesome.
So she said, why not try it? Try and see what happens. And I just couldn't get my head around tarot, and she tried to teach me tarot, and I thought, no, that's not going to work for me at all. But she bought me a deck of medicine animal cards, which are based on Native American teaching, and I just connected with them, just linked with them straight away. And that's when the story and the journey started, and that I've been progressing and working ever since. And every day it's a different, something new comes in. Spirit always brings something different in, and I just developed what I don't like to use the word skills, gifts. It's a bit of an old cliched word, I suppose. But I just developed things from there on in, and just obviously the universe had an idea of where they wanted to take me, and then off I went, and it was just, I haven't looked back since, Raj.
Yeah. Would you say that, I want to ask you about how you connect with tarot cards, because everyone connects differently and reads them very differently to how tarot cards are out of the box descriptions that they give you. It really depends on the person, the reader itself, who interprets them with the feeling. So I would have said that you weren't entirely closed then when you started this. You were kind of drifting into something that you were supposed to be doing. And so when you connected with the cards, you were already intuitively open and ready to connect with those things anyway, would you say?
It's said that we all are, to some extent. Everybody is able to have that connective energy with the universe, but not everybody's meant, if you like, to do something with it. As I said, tarot is still a foreign language to me. I can just about read a tarot deck that I've got, but I've never been able to work with them. The Native American medicine animals, as I said, I just connected with them straight away. And as I was growing, I then learned that my spirit guardian was Native American. My guides have been Native American predominantly, and that's the energy that I've worked with. I was the first, and I would possibly say the only person that used this particular way of working in the media. Nobody else was using these, and I was even fortunate enough to read for the person that designed them, because he is part Native American. And I just emailed him one day, said, I find your cards fascinating. I'm really getting to use these. I love the energy coming from them. The next thing I know, he's actually on the phone from, he lives on a reservation, or lived on the reservation in North America, saying, I'm glad you like them. Right, what do you see in them for me? And I'm thinking, what? No, I can't, no. But it's just,
well, they say you can't read for yourself, Jerry, so is that true?
Exactly. I mean, it was wonderful, because he also helped, if you like, to just start to get the energy moving forwards. And he said, just enjoy them. And he said, they'll speak to you as any other tool will, but in your own way. They'll work with you in the way that you want to work. And that's absolutely spot on. That's exactly how it's happened. And it's one of those things where they say, well, you either connect with a tool or you don't. And I read the book once and then put the book away, because to me, a book is written by and for the person that wrote the book, because you're all going to get something different from a book. You can read a passage from a book. I can read the same passage and get something totally different.
Yeah.
So
I
read
agree.
the book once and then just popped it down and said, okay, leave that.
Yeah. Yeah. I am going to be biased. I know you, and I think Tracy's joined us. She's not on the Zoom session, but I think she's somewhere floating around in the ether. I know how you two guys work, so I have a lot of respect for people who don't use those things. And if anyone just rabbits on what's in the back of a card and just tells you a description what it means without actually connecting energetically with it, then I would say, kind of avoid them. So I wanted to get on to how you moved on from that, because that's where you started, but you do so many things now. I mean, the gamut, the menu items for you is a long list, And so you went on to, what are the hopping points that you went through to get onto becoming a Reiki master, and then, counseling, and then onto TV, which you were doing on Sky, on one of the Sky channels for some time? Did that just pop in?
The TV side was, I suppose, in a way, this bit of my ego coming in, because I saw it on the TV. I just stumbled across the channel one day, and I just looked at the screen and thought, I can do that. I can do that. So I just made a pest of myself, and I found out the name of the company, where it was coming from, etc. And I just pestered them. I said, I can do that. So I got invited up to the studio for an interview. But I had to do an interview live on air, not just an interview off air. It was live on air. And managed to get through that. And one of the people who I was very blessed in meeting was Tracy.
So you guys met. So Tracy's joined, just so everyone knows who we're talking about. Tracy Baker, who's joined with her name Tracy there, also worked on Psychic and Soul. I met her there too, and she's also a psychic medium, very talented, just like Jerry. And I think she does more psychic work, really. But yeah, Jerry, carry on.
And we formed a friendship. I mean, you can always tell who the people are that you're going to really click or link with. And I've known her for a long time, Tracy, and she's one of those lovely souls that that you're just going to have that friendship and connection with, not just on a professional level, but on a personal level. So I've known her for years. Sadly, the TV, for whatever reasons, didn't last too long. There was another rival company broadcasting from London. I did do a couple of shows with them, but the energy was completely different. So I came away from the TV and basically was, at the time, more concentrating just on, on guidance and clarity and insight readings for people. I wanted to know more about the mediumship side, so that I wanted to develop more. From that, the counselling came in, because I felt that my style of reading was more like counselling rather than just yes, he likes you, or no, as you said earlier, is my boyfriend coming back, is my girlfriend coming back. I wanted to get more into the emotional, empathic connection with people. So I studied counselling and became a person-centered therapist. And from there, that led on to animal communication, led on to Reiki. The Reiki just was a natural step, because, again, it's something that I was never aware of until a friend said, I'm taking my Reiki too. Have you ever thought about doing it? I said, what's that? Never heard of it. So that started on my Reiki journey, because I just wanted to learn more. I was just thirsting for knowledge and wanting to see what else I could do to help, not just expand what I was doing, but help the people who were reaching out to us for help. So it then became multi-platformed, if you like. It wasn't just the mediumship side, the spiritual side, then the healing and the Reiki side. That's with people that advanced on to working with animals, and then it all started to snowball again. And then Spirit said, right, another journey coming up, animal communication, that's next. Like, okay, fine. Anything else? Yes, hypnotherapy, that's next. So I just, basically I said to somebody today, I just go where I'm told to go, because if Spirit want me to do something, it's because there's a reason behind it. There's a purpose behind it. So I just started to tick boxes. As to where I'm going next, I don't know yet, but is going to be interesting to find out.
I want to touch on the animal communication. So I think a lot of people are interested in that, because it's not something that I've seen a lot of discussions on, actually, is animal healing, animal communication, that kind of thing, because it's all energy. End of the day, there is really nothing that you can't connect with. It really depends whether you're on the frequency to do so. So could you just talk about how do you communicate with animals, and also what is it? What is that mode of communication? Are you hearing words, or is it feelings translated into words within your? So the mind transmutes that energy, vibration, frequency into something that your logical conscious self can understand. I mean, how is it that what do you receive, and how do you communicate with the animals? And what have you done recently? What's your most interesting animal communication stroke healing that you've done out there?
To me, the animal communication side was just a natural progression, because the animals are sentient beings, just as are humans, except they don't have the power to obviously rationalize, put things into logic, and communicate with words. Notice I said communicate with words, because there are a lot of animals, particularly domestic animals. We think of dogs, cats, horses in particular, that actually do have an understanding of words. Initially, animal communication, when it first sort of came to the forefront of people's awareness, was shrouded in a little bit of, oh, what's this? How can that happen? Is it something unique or special? Well, it is in a way, but as I found out, it is still the same as working as a mediumship connection. The only difference being, as you said, animals communicate through their emotions, through what they feel. So it was my, if you like, my job to be able to translate, and this is exactly how it happens. I pick up on whether the animal is present or whether it's passed over. I can pick up on emotions, on feelings. I see images, and then it is an instant translation into words if I'm speaking with the client, and then the process is reversed. The client has questions or wants to know how I know what's happening, so I'm then communicating with the animal soul, whether it's alive or passed over, with emotion, with feeling, with that energetic feeling, and that's how the conversation goes. But it's just instant. I don't have to wait. The image comes, the feeling comes, the words come out of my mouth, the feeling goes back. It's just that constant conversation. It's just like talking to a person, except there are no words involved.
So when do you? I can understand that. When you do healing sessions on animals? That's the communication bit. Are you healing them the same way as you would heal a person doing on a Reiki session, on a Reiki table, or how have you done that? And have you done healing on a non-physical ailment, such as a mental psychosis or trauma? What kind of what scenarios do you deal with, and how does the healing, how do you heal and transmute the energy to do that?
Just say first and foremost that whether the healing's for a person or an animal, the one thing that I do not do is diagnose. There are medical professionals out there, there are vets who are the trained people for animals. I will not diagnose or work with unless I have permission to work with helping to treat something as a complementary therapy. And that's important for people to understand. This does not take the place of conventional medical treatment. And I will not go there, because not only is it not ethical, but actually in the UK, there's some fairly strict rules and regulations that we have to stick to. But it doesn't matter whether it's a person or an animal, the healing energy is the same. If I'm being asked to help an animal's well-being, general welfare, the energy is no different, Raj. It's whether it's a distant treatment, whether it's a hands-on treatment, It's all the same. It's about, the word Reiki means universal energy. It's the balance of mind, body, and spirit. So the Reiki is working on the soul's energetic levels on across those three: mind, body, and spirit. The Reiki will help with whatever it's meant to help with. So it can be anything: physical issues, mental issues, emotional issues, doesn't matter.
And do you have we have a mutual friend, but do you have, how can I put it, a team, a healing team? And what are they? If you could describe them.
The healing team is varied. In my healing team in spirit, there are many different spirit helpers, ascended masters, ascended Reiki masters that step in. I have two very wonderful spirit animals that step in, particularly when I'm working with animals of whatever shape or form. Again, it's one of those things that I just ask before each treatment is sent or whatever I'm asked to be doing. I just ask that whoever can assist with the balance and the healing energies that are going out to step down or step in and help. So in a way, I don't have the control, but I know who they are because they're all overseen, and I make sure I have the right connections, if you will. So it depends. It's horses for courses, you know. It's like you wouldn't call an electrician in to fix your washing machine. So I make sure that the right team are there for doing the right job.
Yeah, I understand that. So here's a question. This conversation has come up a few times with people that I know, Jerry. So and I have had conversations with people that they know about the same thing. Now, let's not get into the confusion of whether or not what's the soul and what's the spirit, and is it different from an energy body and a mind body and all this kind of layering that the spiritual intellectuals like to confuse and discuss, which for me is, it's all one of the same thing. So let's just ask this direct question. Do animals have a soul stroke spirit?
Of course. Absolutely. They are a sentient being. We have emotional connections with them. So I suppose most people would generally relate to domestic animals, but it's and I don't like calling them pets either. I prefer to call them animal companions because I think that says far more about them. They are givers. One of our dogs, who sadly is now in spirit, although not sadly in a way, she was a healer, and she would come and sit on you, and she would know instantly if you weren't feeling right, on whether it's an emotional upset or a physical upset. She would come and sit on you, but she would literally sit on your chest with her paws on your chest, staring at you, and you could feel her paws hot. She was giving healing, and she knew when she'd finished because she got up, turned around, jumped off, and that's right, I finished. That is a soul connection. That her soul talking to my, if you like, my soul, my spirit. So of course they have that connection with us. In a way, it's far less tainted than the human one is, because you know they're based on the energy of love and unconditional love and giving. So it's far less tainted than the human one is. So do they have souls or spirit? Of course. Blimey.
Yeah, well, it's not.
I can relate countless validations or stories and things that have happened when I've been working as an animal communicator, that would just scream out, how did they communicate? I can show it. Just so many different things that they will have helped their human companions with, whether they are, as I said, whether they're alive or passed over, makes no difference. It's no different, as I said, than talking with a human being, apart from sometimes it's a lot easier and they tell it like it is.
Yeah, it's not really a question, but they just come up. You'd be surprised, Jerry, how many times that question comes up a lot. And there is a view by many actually in all areas of life, whether we have faith, non-faith, agnostic, atheist, doesn't matter really. The same question comes up because there is a view that if you're not human, you can't have a spirit, and everything else is sub-life, including plant, animal, mineral, animate, inanimate, conscious, unconscious. For me, everything, if it's born from source, has spirit, has aura, has connectedness, and can be communicated with if you're at the right frequency to do so. So, yeah, it's an interesting question because it comes around a lot. It won't convince many, of course, but it does actually. It's an interesting thing. So let's talk about the. Just one last question on the animal thing, though. To drop onto the spirit and soul, where do animals go? We have to assume the premise on my sessions is that everyone understands that incarnation for me is a real thing, and multiple incarnational life is a real thing. People can believe what they like, but it is, and it can be proven through people like yourself and others in very, very blunt ways, actually, in some instances. So, do animals go to the same place as we do?
I love that. Yeah, this is my opinion, my belief, my understanding. There are no boxes in heaven. You can't put one person in one box, another person in another box, one animal in one box. No, it doesn't work. For me, it doesn't work like that. And why doesn't it work like that? Recent experience, I suppose, has validated even more that when a soul crosses over, it connects with the loved ones that have preceded it. And it doesn't matter, again, who they are, where they are, why. It's a universal family. We are all connected if you believe or want to look at the 6 degrees of separation, which are now no longer 6 degrees or even less. And in spirit, there is no difference. No, you can't compartmentalize souls into different categories or different boxes. So from my experience, no. We connect with those who we have lost, whether it's human or animal, and we reunite with those spiritual energies that don't necessarily have to have been family members. They could be strong spiritual connections here on earth. So, no, I know that when I eventually leave this earth, I won't have to go hunting in different rooms to find people. They will be, and so will the animals.
Yeah. Everything is actually one outside of physical form. So you're quite right. I couldn't agree with you more, Jerry. So let's just leave that one for a moment. I just want to talk about what you're doing now. So where's your focus now? I know you have the Psychic magazine, which I'm going to pop up on a screen in a moment. Where are you focusing your efforts now, and where you wanting to kind of progress yourself or expand? And maybe are you looking to drop some things away in the future and focus on other areas?
I'll start with the magazine because the magazine was, again, it was just born out of spirit saying, you need something to do. So, have I got enough to do? What am I going to do now? You're going to produce a magazine. Fine. I hadn't got a clue how to do it, when to do it, or whatever. But it ran consistently for 4 years initially. And everybody that contributed freely and without the support of people like Tracy, like yourself, the magazine wouldn't have run. But it got to a point where I felt the energy needs to be changed. There's something that is either missing or it needs to be, something fresh needs to be put in. So it went on holiday for a bit. Now, the interesting thing is I've recently been contacted by 2 people come out of the blue saying, we'd like to submit articles for your magazine. And I'm thinking, hang on a minute, I'm not running the magazine. it's the spirit's way of saying you've got to get it back. It's coming back. So the next issue, if you like, will be now in either June or July of this year. How it's going to be or what form it will be in, it'll still be accessible via my website, but I don't know yet because I have not been told. It's the simple answer. What am I doing? I'm doing a lot more teaching these days, and that seems to be something that I'm also going to be working a bit more with, because basically I suppose one of our main objectives is to spread the word and to get as many people as possible, on the same page and helping to spread the word that there is life after. That's what our basic job is, to give evidence of life after. And a lot more people are getting interested in, if you like, the mechanics, how it works, what can they do. And my job at the moment is to point them in the right direction. I can take them so far on the journey, then it's up to them where they go next. They would go off and write their own rule books. What else am I going to be doing? I'm in a bit of a transitional stage at the moment, as I explained to you before we went live, that my life has taken a little bit of a turn in the last month, or last 6 months. We go back to July of last year.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I'm just, things are still settling. I won't physically have the next stepping off point until the first week of March. After that, I'm sure that I will be able then to see where the next step is. My feeling at the moment is that it's more with the mediumship side and helping people to develop.
Yeah.
But again, I can't say that for certain, Raj, because I always wait to get the prompt, if you like, as to, right, come on, this is what you're doing next.
Yeah,
So,
no, I can understand that. Yeah. I'm just showing everyone the magazine in the window. You should be able to see that there. This is the magazine. This is the April 2020 edition. I don't know if this is the last one that you had, I think, on your website. Jerry, is this right? There'll probably be another one coming up, but they're all pretty good. I've only been in one of those when Jerry kindly allowed me to publicize the book that I wrote on there, and these are some of the services and things. So you can contact Jerry there, and there's a connection form on here as well that you can connect to Jerry, and a telephone number and a email address. So feel free to connect to Jerry on this website. It's called senseofknowing.co.uk. Simple as that. So I'll pop it into the video description later for those who want to access it there. So Jerry, it's interesting that, because we're living in interesting times, and I don't want to really go into those interesting times because I try to keep those subjects off topic for what I'm doing, because you can go down rabbit holes on that, and I don't really want to do that. But what advice would you give to people at this moment, from last year to this year, on how to kind of deal with the environment and the stresses and restrictions that are going on, which I don't see changing for the foreseeable future this year at all? What have you been given? And I know you've been publishing a few things on Facebook. I've seen those posts. What would be your personal message to people, and how you're kind of coping with that, and obviously your recent personal change, which is hard enough?
As you said, there are so many rabbit holes that one can go down at the moment, and the one thing that has come across to me virtually every single day is that people are having to think differently. Now, this is where, as a medium, I'd like to be able to come in and say, well, thinking is wonderful, but thinking can also, without the emotional balance, can lead you down the rabbit holes you don't need to go down. I feel that my work at the moment is to help to bring the balance back for people who are not being able to see it for themselves. I don't give advice. I
Yeah.
will help people to see for themselves what they can't see, and then they can go and find their own answers and maybe give themselves their own advice. So at the moment, I feel that my job is to help restore the positive things. And a lot of people say, well, how can it be positive? There's all this other stuff going on. There's always something positive that we can hold on to. There's always aims or ambitions that you can help people project towards, even at the darkest times. And at this particular moment, yeah, for me, the transition I'm going through is obviously still very real. And the old phrase, death only hurts those it leaves behind, comes in. But I suppose in a way I'm fortunate because I have that awareness, understanding, connection, that is able also to see past the human grief. So again, that's part of my work, is to help others who can't find that next step to find that next step. It's more relevant at the moment on the mental or emotional level than perhaps anything else. But that's what I feel my role is. And along with loads of other people, many, many, many other people on Mother Earth who are also doing the same thing. Our work is just to help pick people up, dust them down, set them off, and support where needed. And hopefully then they can go off and find that things aren't quite as dark as they seem. And that's if I can do that, job done.
Yeah. I think I'm feeling that in this moment of time, I think there's really choices people have to make, and one of those is whether they're going to continue to exist within a particular material paradigm, or whether they're going to start expanding beyond that. And that is really, to be honest, that is the number one priority question for everyone at this moment, because that is what you're challenged on. Forget all the other things. The primary aspect of actually being, well, let's put it this way. You're on Earth because you have to be, because you haven't expanded beyond it. So, and until you expand beyond it, you'll kind of come back here for the most part. Most people will, although you have options for other things, but most people will start it and will end here, their journey of incarnational existence, in my feeling. And so that's the question that people are going to be challenged with. Are we going to exist and continue to be 5 sense typical material beings bounded by that paradigm, or are we going to start expanding beyond that? Because that's the question. So with that question in mind, Jerry, everyone has the ability to expand beyond the six senses, beyond all senses, and what I call personally, return to grace whilst in form, because that's your challenge, and vibrate the source of frequency, the frequency of source itself, call it God if you want, divine, emanate that from within and become it as much as you can, which incarnational life can allow. And that's a very, very difficult journey, because it will make and force everyone to confront their ego, the intellectual narcissism, and the pedestals they put themselves on. And people don't want to, will find it very difficult to do that. So, but it's a journey everyone has to have, and it will happen for everyone. So the golden age is obviously inevitability, because that happens as people expand out. So how can people do that in your what's your advice to help people start that, those who haven't thought about it at all? Where would you advise people to go, or join circles for those who are already on that journey? Are you looking to, maybe, as you mentioned before, teaching, are you looking to start circles of your own virtually, now that being the new digital paradigm? What's your advice to people on the different rungs of that ladder?
First question that you have to really ask, Raj, is it part of that person's purpose to go down that route. It may not be. It may not be in this earth life something that they are meant to experience. We can't say why is or why not, because that's in their own akashic record or soul contract, if you will. Everybody has a purpose to experience things that they have. Again, this depends on your belief. Already agreed to experience in an earth life. Now, this will then go into lots of different realms, like past lives, etc. Are they relevant? Well, interestingly enough, I was working with somebody this afternoon on past lives because we were looking at why certain events were happening in this earth life, and it is said we can often track them back in a past existence. Anyway, that was just one example, but it's not everybody's, as I said, it's not everybody's purpose to experience certain things. Now, in this particular day and age, Mother Earth, Mother Nature has kicked its heels yet again and said, if you won't listen or see the signals that I've been giving you, I'm going to have to bring something in that's going to make you sit up and take notice. There are many examples of this since, I don't know, you could say from 2 world wars, example, wars that have taken place in other countries. There's so many different things that you think, well, they're human made. Not, in my view, not necessarily. Again, it is my role, though, if people want to know more about their own spiritual existence or how they can help not just further their path but other people's. I said that's, to me, is the prime reason behind all this. Then I am more than happy to help expand their knowledge, their skills, gifts, whatever you want to label them as. At the moment, I already run 3 group teaching sessions virtually, and I have 2 one-to-one sessions going at the moment, which are regular, and a 3rd one is starting next week. Another one starting next week, rather. So the more the merrier. The more I'm asked to do, the more I shall like it, you know? Yeah. And again, it's all to validate, is to give evidence that there is more to this existence than just being a human being. And I will just say this one lovely quote, which I would like, which is, Jerry, do you believe in reincarnation? The answer is yes, but knowing my luck, I'll come back as me.
I understand that one.
Yeah.
that's actually cryptic. Yeah, I understand that one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I get that one. That's touching on past tendencies and just, you're always going to be you. That's an interesting thing. So what if spirituality kind of means different things to different people, Jerry? Yeah. So and I don't want to. It's for me. It's always the self. Anyway, you came in with the self, and you'll end with the self, and in between, there's different pathways you can take. But at one point in one life, you'll get onto that spoke of the wheel, which is your own, and traverse that one to the center. So, and that will take, like you said, you're absolutely right. There's some people are here to observe, some people are here to act, some people are here to do something else, to assist. There's different approaches to why people come, and they're, like, you're absolutely right. Intention and purpose. People call it contract. I just call it intention. To every life, it's a small part, but the choices we make along the path will determine whether we are moving towards that intention or whether we are not. And everything else in an adventure. And there's nothing wrong with the material aspects of being. I don't think they're just experiences that we can have. It depends on our relationship to them. But what is your definition of spirituality? And how would you ask someone to, if someone wants to do that privately and not join a circle, just dip their toe? What what would be your approach? Would you say meditation, or what would it be? It's a scary subject, Jerry, because that's why I ask. A lot of people.
It's really intriguing because the dynamics of how things happen today is vastly different from how it used to be when people like myself, if you first came to the public's awareness. Back in the day, it was very guarded and done in secret and behind closed doors, and don't tell the neighbours I'm doing this; they'll think I'm conjuring up the devil. Whereas today, I will speak with people of all different faiths, all different, in quotes, religions, all different beliefs. It makes no difference, and because we are all talking from the source. That spiritual energy, no matter how you choose to connect with it, which is individual to you, means though that we have a common language. And that's what, to me, that's what it is. It's a common language. And if somebody wanted to know more on a one-to-one level, then that depends on the person and when I connect with them, Raj, because everybody's unique and individual. Don't wish to sound like a cliche, but that's the truth. So there are no fixed rules or anything. It's just, it depends on the person. And then I would be guided as to how to help that person find their own path, whatever that might be. And it could just take one session. Would it be a meditation? Possibly. Wouldn't know until it happened. Would it be some sort of healing? Could be. Wouldn't know until it happened. I have to wait until I'm the spiritual entities or spirit guides that I connect with know far more about this than I do, and they will know immediately as to what the person requires, what they need, what is it they're missing, what are they searching for. Is it me that actually is the right person to help them? Might not be, might just be that I go, it may not be me, but I can tell you who can.
Yeah.
So that's how it works. Whether it's a one-to-one group, doesn't matter.
Did you when you started off, Jerry, when you were all young people before? So when was before you started the tarots? You sort of kicked off with that. Did you see what age were you around when you first said, I'm going to go have a reading with someone? Did you actually search anyone out randomly to do that because you were interested or you were drawn to do it? What did you do that at all when you were younger?
What happened was at that time, and God, I feel old now. I wasn't that old.
You don't have to give it away. Just
No, it was in my late 20s, early 30s. At that time, I was going through my own health issues, mental health issues. And all conventional routes had been tried and hadn't worked. At the time, my wife said, look, there's got to be something more to this. And she just happened to read in a local newspaper about a guy that was in the area and he was holding one. So she invited him round to the house. And I think he'd probably only been in the house about half an hour when suddenly things that he was saying just made sense. It just made sense as to why I was going through what I was going through. It just made sense. And I actually then studied with him for about 2 years. And then he just said, right, I think our journey's at an end. And as I always said, it's time for you to go and write your own rule book, Jerry. And he disappeared. It's like he'd never even existed. He was there one minute and gone the next. And then it was just like, okay, now let's see what you're going to do with this. And that's when I started to inquire, if you like, what's happening now? How did that work? What's happening next? What have I got to do with this? And then it just, like a snowball, just grew.
I'll tell you a story because this I've had since the book that you allowed me to share on your magazine was my first public outing. I came out, right? So I will tell you, mine was when I was 18, and it was a weird old story because I didn't know. I was just drawn to doing it. I just looked in the yellow pages. We had a yellow pages that says, younglings won't know what yellow pages were. It was a thick book like this with everyone's number in it who lived in your city or in the region or whatever it was. And you just flick, and at the back there were services ads, I think, back in the day. And I just picked one out, and I just did, the thing didn't feel weird to me. In fact, it felt as natural as drinking water. And I just went to this random, I didn't even know it was. I had never done it before. I think I was about 18 years old. And I know exactly where this person lived today. I can remember it. And I don't think the place is there anymore because they've developed Leeds since back then. But it's near a Ford dealership on Gelders Road, if I remember it right. And it was an apartment on the second floor, or flat. And I went in, and she had a darkened room. And actually, I do remember a lot of things she said to this day, and she was right. To this day, it's actually all happened now since. But she was, and it didn't feel weird to me. And what she did say, the one thing that I thought, actually, don't do this. She sat back. She goes, this was after my father had already passed away. So it was like, it must have been in when I was about 23 then. She said, "Oh, I can bring your father's image on my chest." And she said that to me. She goes, she asked me, do you want to talk to him? I says, well, not really bothered really. So it's kind of, but she offered to do it. And she goes, I could do that if you like. I said, doesn't matter. Leave that alone. But I don't know what that's called. I don't know what that's called in the esoteric word for when people say they can manifest the image or the auric image of something in front of them. Oh, that's it. Yeah, she offered to do that, and I gave that a pass on that day. But I did it when I was very, 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 very young. I was interested in it when I was privately for a long time because this was never unusual to me. It was normal. It was all normal for me. I was very private about it, though I never told anybody about things that I've experienced, but I haven't since anyway. This is the first time I've told anyone that story, by the way. So yeah, it's a release. I want to I know we're nearly coming to the hour, Jerry, but I want to ask this question. When you speak to spiritualists, anyone who comes to you for help, or guidance, readings, any session, and let's be honest with this one, because I think this comes down to the crux of it at the end of the day. I find a lot of spiritualists who even practice avoid the subject of something, a divine oneness, a God, a source, or anything like that. They almost avoid it like the plague to even mention such a thing exists. It's always periphery stuff. It's always, let's talk about Gaia religion. Let's talk about tarot cards. Let's talk about the Akashic field. Let's talk about past lives. Let's talk about contracts. Let's do all of this other stuff. But there's a huge avoidance just to talk about grace itself, because they think if you do that, then you're talking about religion. You're going into grounds of theology, and you're going down into religion. But for me, if you don't want to talk about that, and then that's fear. You're not really. You're too fearful to connect and show and speak your truth, and that's the ultimate truth for me. And I'm not scared to talk about it at all. So what do you? Are you finding that? Is that something that when you're working with people, they're hesitant to go there? It's similar to prayer. People won't pray because they think, well, what am I praying to? What's the point? Praying. Some people think praying is being is a form of lesser than behavior, which it isn't, in my view. So what is your view on that, and how are you finding people approaching that subject or going there generally?
I feel that people are a lot more open at the moment because everyone has been feeling so vulnerable. That's a good way of describing it, I suppose. But to me, it's barriers have been broken down more so recently than perhaps they have done in a long time. It's like you said, do animals have separate spaces in spirit when they cross over? The barriers on Earth are being broken down. And I like to appreciate belief system, faith, whatever, because it's nice to embrace everybody else's own individual awareness. And in order for me to be able to guide people of different faiths or beliefs, I have to be, the technical phrase is, in their frame of reference. In other words, I have to be able to feel where they're at, see through their eyes what they are seeing, so I can experience it and help them. But there's a common ground these days, Raj. It's not whether you're Muslim, Hindu, Catholic, Christian, whatever. Those are labels. But if you have a strong faith or belief, that's wonderful. And I would say, yes, absolutely. If I don't understand it, that's my ignorance, but help me to understand it more if I need to, so I can help you on your journey. But to me, there is one light shining. It just happens to break down into many different beams, and it shines on people in different ways. How you relate to that, how you connect with it, what you call it, is entirely down or up to you. That could be through how you're brought up, through family, through tradition. Again, that's wonderful. That's your individual journey. But I want to be able to be here for everybody's journey. Doesn't matter where you're from, what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, who you're doing it with. Doesn't make any difference to me.
Yeah, that's the good way to end it, Jerry, because I think that's a good point, because the changing transformative world we're going into is going to go digital. I've been saying for a long time. It's just the way that technology is a natural progression of human expansion from a material realm, from a mind perspective. It's our relationship to what we create and how we use it, which is the challenge that humanity has. It's not what it is. It's our relationship and use of it. Things are going to go digital, and I've been doing that for a long time, actually, silently, and it's going to be rapid over the next 2 to 3, absolutely 5 years from now. We won't be having paper much at all. It'll be gone. And I was kind of working in that industry, so I can tell you what's happening. It's going fast, head speed down that road. So yeah, it's from what you're saying there, it's absolutely there. It's opened itself up, like you said, to spirituality devoid of ideology. Try to use what you have. I think religion's a great thing. It's just lost its way, and people lose their way in it. But I think it's using what they have and to move forward with it, I think, and just come away with going into spirituality of the self, which is where this progression's going to end anyway, eventually. But yeah, it's well said. I don't think there's any questions there, Jerry, but I'm gonna put your link to your website and your contact details in the video. And is there any final thoughts from you of wisdom from Mr. Humphreys before we go? And I'll let you leave.
One thing that is certain at the moment is that change is going to happen. The one thing that people get frightened of is change. You take them out of a comfort zone, it becomes really scary. Change is always going to happen. Progression is always going to happen. Sadly, we cannot turn clocks back and rewrite history. What we can do is to make the best of what we have in the time in which we have it. And if I can help anyone to make the best of their time, then That's what I'm here for, to cope with change, to see where the progression can help. And if anybody needs to know that more, then they've only got to reach out and I'll do what I can.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. I'll just plug one other thing. I hope this works. Here we go. There's the book. You can see it in my window up there. If you're anyone inclined to actually get that, feel free, but you don't have to, because I didn't really, to be honest, do it for money. It was just really to share my own truth out there. But and thanks, Jerry, for allowing me to publish it into your magazine. But I've enjoyed the conversation. I hope you have. Oh, thanks, Jerry. I hope you've enjoyed it. I really have. I think we can have a more in-depth conversation at some point about more deeper things. I think it'll be interesting to do that with maybe a panel. But maybe I can organise that with some friends. But thanks again, Jerry. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Have a great weekend. What you're doing, it's snowing over here and icy. But take care of yourselves. And Jerry, if you need anything, do reach out. And blessings to you. And thanks, everyone, again.
Thank you,
everyone. Take care.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.